Today is Tuesday, August 8th, the special meeting of the Information Technology and General Services Committee. Thank you all for being here. This is my first committee meeting, so I'm very excited. Yay. Thank you. And thank you, Councilmember O'Farrell, for joining. Mr. Clerk, are there any speaker cards for general public comment? Multiple agenda.
John White, City Clerk. There are no speakers cards for general public comment or multiple items.
Okay, so we'll close general public comment.
Yes, ma'am.
And I believe that should take us to the first item of business.
Yes, it does. Item 1 on your agenda is General Manager, Information Technology Agency to present a verbal report relative to the department's current programs and future priorities.
Thank you.
Excellent.
Hi, Ted.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Ted Ross, General Manager with the Information Technology Agency, and so always a big fan of the ITGS, formerly ITGCC, formerly ITGS Committee. Anything with IT in it, you'll find us there. And so we're a big department, like many departments, and so we cover a lot of different projects. So we wanted to, of course, highlight some key projects and some key priorities that we thought would be useful for the committee. Number 1 is the new Fms Procurement System. We just went live July 10th with a new city purchasing system. If you haven't heard, that's a good thing. It's got over 2,500 users. In the first 2 weeks alone, we processed over 25,000 transactions totaling $90 million. So it was a big project. It hit a lot of users, impacted a lot of users. And more than just a replacement of the old system, it was an opportunity to innovate and to add great benefits to the current processes. And so we have got a lot of good benefits associated with it, everything from tablets for warehouse workers so they can do their work real time, to kind of an Amazon-like punch-out for people who do city purchasing city processes. So we've made a lot of improvements there. A second item is LAPD phone replacement. Unfortunately, the city has a lot of aging phone infrastructure. We have telephone systems that were implemented around the year 2000, Y2K timeframe. We had impacts to the Valley LAPD stations this last February or so, and so ITA actually has a report back tomorrow, even for public safety, related to us replacing a telephone system. So we have some money in the UB, the unappropriated budget, for 4 Valley stations, so we're looking to get rolling on that. This is non-emergency phone lines for LAPD stations, which of course is still critical. A third item is the new Hr Payroll System. And so we've started, through council approval, we started a systems analysis and design phase, which means we're early in the project. The city currently runs a PACER system for payroll, and it does very minimal amount of human resource management, which is certainly ironic because a city of the size of our workforce, you want to have the best systems to really get most out of your workforce. And so we've been authorized to start off both with a payroll system replacement as well as a human resource management system. And so we're early on in the phases. We've got working groups. We did a kickoff with all city departments. And so we're really starting to understand what people need to do. And we're looking for a lot of efficiencies for the new system. So we're really looking forward to that project. Email discovery and Cpra. California Public Records Act, people can of course request information. So we're working very diligently with city attorney, with CLA and with others to identify improvements in the Cpra process. And so we're working to identify ways to facilitate that when legal requests come in, we're able to process them in as efficient a time frame as possible and have the latest tools to be able to make sure that people are getting the records that they're requesting. We see this one very much under the risk management side of it, both on the executive directive as well as council's actions. On the more fun side of it is the use of I already say it wrong. I was about to say Ask Alexa, but it's Ask Alexa. And so, you know, we're very excited on any kind of technology that engages people with their city. And something like an Amazon Echo, which, by the way, 6 million and counting, people with Echoes and Echo Dots, in the comfort of their living room or wherever they may be, they're talking to their computers. And Ask Alexa has given us the capability in which we can engage people with council calendars, hear about council sessions, hear about rec and parks events, cultural affairs events, etc. So we've been building out functionality so if you add the LA City skill, you could say, ask LA City what's happening this weekend, and it'll explain to the resident what's going on in their neck of the woods. And so these are very powerful ways in which we engage people, and people can get more information regarding cultural events, park events, what's going on in their city council committee, etc. LA City View Channel 35, moving to Merced Theater. So it's been something that's been years in the making, and so we've been working through the bids related to the move of Channel 35 from Little Tokyo over to the historic Merced Theater in El Pueblo. Another item is Connectivity and Digital Inclusion Working Group. We do a lot with technology. I've got a big, broad department. We manage city networks, desktop computers, enterprise applications, police and fire radio systems. But one of the most passionate areas that we generally don't get the right funding for is to try to get people online. Around 1/3 of the city of Los Angeles does not have broadband access. And when we look in this digital economy, this digital era that we're in, it used to be that people would go to, let's say, college and get the education to stay abreast. It used to be the expression, knowledge is power. But in so many ways, my smartphone, my computer, it gives me knowledge. And so the ability for people to be both digitally literate as well as to have connectivity, we think is very powerful to be able to make sure that all LA communities are brought together. So we put together a working group in which we're looking and we're identifying, we don't have any funding, but we have volunteer basis across multiple city departments to identify digital inclusion opportunities, whether they're computer distributions, whether it's digital literacy, whether it's getting Wi-Fi at a park. And we've already been building up the different programs and different projects, and we've already been working through that. One of our digital inclusion programs is Our Cycle LA, and we've distributed over 3,000 computers to date with internet. And those are very powerful stories. I won't keep going on that one, but I could go for a long period of time. Mainframe migration, we went from Amazon Alexa, digital inclusion, and now we're talking about something as old as a mainframe. Cities run really big platforms, and we still have a sizable amount, especially in public safety, that runs off of an aging mainframe. And so we're working very diligently. You can't get a degree in mainframe anymore. You used to be able to, and a lot of folks did. But we're working very frantically to get applications in these big systems off of our mainframe so that we can just settle in on cloud infrastructure and on-premise modern client-server infrastructure. And the reason why is that around half of our mainframe support staff have even announced their interest in retiring in the next year or so. And so it's very difficult to keep those skill sets for those older platforms, but at the same time it can be very expensive and very difficult to migrate off of it. So it's a challenge that we often find in IT. Not everything's as fun as Alexa. And so we're working very aggressively to move databases and applications and systems off that mainframe, and in the meantime identify a place that could host it. So we're working with the California Department of Technology, who has very sizable mainframe support up in Sacramento, to identify if they'll host our mainframe and leverage their skills. They even have their own mainframe university to train people coming out of school. We're in the opposite world. We're trying to get the most innovative technology, and so it's trying to see if we have a match made in heaven. So we're working through contracts and seeing if the pricing is right so that we can leverage them to host our mainframe while we continue to move to get off of it. LAPD and LA Fire Department radio system upgrades. Now we move over into the world of public safety. There have been major investments in the 1980s and 1990s around radio systems and radio infrastructure. And as we've been seeing, we're seeing both shifts in the technology around radio as well as a need to reinvest in that infrastructure. And so on the infrastructure side, we work very closely with LAPD and LA Fire to modernize and make those improvements. On the handset side, we actually have a major shift coming in on the federal level, in which in 2012 they announced that by 2023, so starting in 2021, going through 2023, we have to get various types of entities off of certain frequencies, and that includes our LA Police Department. So this T-banding or this rebanding effort has been coming down the pipeline, and so we're looking at a replacement of over 10,000 or 11,000 handsets, as well as mobile computers for LA Police Department. So this is a big one in which they will no longer be able to use the frequencies, the UHF frequencies they're currently on, and so this is a big effort. And then the Data Science Federation. This council requested us to be able to look into predictive analytics and look at data sciences. It's always been difficult as a city to be able to get an investment around data analytics. We see tremendous benefits in private sector, but it's always difficult in a resource-constrained government to do it. So we don't get mad, we get even. And how do we get even? We take our city problems and we take our subject matter experts and we find the best places where data sciences are being taught, our universities. So we've got partnerships now. We start off with one, with USC. No offense, Bruins, but just happened, it went that way with USC. And we're now with 14 universities running semester-long projects. So we've got UCLA and USC and Caltech and Pepperdine and Claremont and others, in which we take our data and we take our challenges, and then we meet with the university who applies graduate level and undergraduate level data scientists to help hack and get insight into that data and provide that insight to us. So instead of us having to pay for a large number of on-site data scientists to do that type of analysis, we're getting in many ways the best. And we've got professors providing quality assurance. It's really fantastic. So we've reached out to various council offices, all the council offices, because what we'd like to do is instead of working on what IT finds important, which is going to, these many people are going to care about, We want to know what's important to council districts. What are the challenges in your areas? Let us know, and then we can try to pull all that horsepower together to provide insight and maybe even influence policy. So the Data Science Federation, we're getting ready for our fall 2017 projects.
Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
Thank you. I actually had a quick question, and Councilman O'Farrell, I'll turn it over for any questions you might have. But on the FMS launch, has there been any discussion? I know some of the early work we did with LA Bavin, we talked about its potential for trying to integrate the system so that they can actually, we could have like this seamless process when it comes to our procurement process. Has there been any continuity of that conversation? I know it was something that happened while I was on the Board of Public Works. I was just curious if that.
Excellent question, and the answer is yes. Okay. So for the first launch, what we were looking to do, and you're right, we have a new procurement system which really only starts when you have an established contract. But when you think of purchasing, you think of something going way back to the beginning. The city has a need and vendors are applying for it. And so we completely agree with the chairperson. It makes a lot of sense to have some digital process in which you're going from soup to nuts in that process. On the commodity side, we have that. So with this FMS launch, we've got integration across from the financial management system through Bavin, through the FMS vendor self-service portal. We're working to do that on our services side. And so we fortunately received funding for the procurement project, in which we are right now tackling construction services and others, and that's going to lay the framework. So to your point, it creates a good user experience for someone to be able to see the bid opportunities on Bavin, to digitally submit to those. So we're taking the chairwoman's idea and we're running with it, and we're hoping to expand. So in this year we're focusing on construction services, and then over the coming years want to be able to expand it across all city service procurement.
That's very exciting to hear. I'm glad that that was still, I mean, again, that was something that we started at Public Works, and I'm happy to hear that that's still progressing.
Good ideas are hard to put down.
Well, that's good. That's a good thing. Did you have any questions?
Thank you, Madam Chair. It's good to be back on the committee. After a 2-year hiatus, I'm back.
Excellent. Welcome back.
Great, and congratulations, Madam Chair. Very, very happy to be on this committee with you.
Thank you.
And then just one question in relation to the bids to move LA City View, Channel 35. This is something that we had worked on early on, and so in terms of the bids are being reviewed, can you remind me what the time frame is now? Do you think like bids accepted, contract awarded, move complete, about the time frame of that?
One of the challenges we're encountering now is the bids have come in over budget. So we're identifying what changes we can make and identifying if it still makes, what the right approach will be, knowing that we're not going to be able to, with existing budget, meet that. So we're right now very much in a figuring out phase. We've got a lot of design developed, we got a lot of good feedback, but right now we need to figure out kind of what those right next steps are. So I don't have a firm timeline because we have encountered a little bump in the road on that.
There's going to be a budget delta that has to be...
There is a delta, and we're working very closely with Bureau of Engineering to figure out how to approach that delta.
Okay, so more reports on that in the coming
Yep.
Committee hearings. And then in terms of the Connectivity and Digital Inclusion Working Group, so your computer rebuild and community giveaway with the years of Wi-Fi, huge, huge, huge success. When are we going to do that again? And what do you need to help make that happen?
There's some level of funding because we work very close with Human IT to be able to make it. We, as I understand it, are receiving some more funding for this upcoming fiscal year. Last year we targeted 1,000 computers. We beat that. This year we're targeting 2,000. So we're very much building a relationship. We've got great partnerships. General Services does a lot in that effort. Sanitation does a lot in that effort. So it's really kind of creating a fabric across others. And so we very much look forward to our elected officials to identify the right people to be able to give them to.
Okay, such a hit. One of the best events ever since I've been in office. Really.
Excellent.
Good stuff. Thanks. Good to be back.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you. Actually, I do have one more question. I'm
Please,
sorry.
as many as you like.
No, I wanted to ask in terms of equity metrics and prioritizing some of the areas of need. Has there been a review of some of the need in terms of connectivity as it relates to, obviously the web access to, wireless and.
Absolutely. This is one of those areas that some folks will say is very fuzzy, so you're always trying to figure out what would be the right metric and the right approach to it. But we've just recently completed working with USC. Once again, no, I went to Cal State, so you're not finding a homer here.
Okay, we got Oxy alums here too.
That's right, that's right. But we just completed some work with USC to map this out. And so really what it does is it helps us inform the decision we're making. So as I've put together this connectivity and digital inclusion work group, we want to start to try to identify areas to target. And so we just have finished within the last week or so, and we're more than willing to share our results to discuss where the areas of the biggest emphasis. And so there's various ways of cutting it. Some of it is to take a look at neighborhoods in which they have no connectivity or poor choices around connectivity. There's other areas, of course, approaching at people who have broadband versus people who don't. And so we can slice and dice in various ways, but you're entirely right. And so what we're trying to do is identify ways of baselining, show how we're moving the needle and what are we moving the needle on. Because on one side, it's about making sure people are online and connected. On the other side, it's about, like, from the business perspective, they're often less concerned about just connectivity. They want high-speed connectivity. And so we know that there's a lot of different personas and a lot of different stakeholders, and we're working very hard to identify what our right metrics are.
Okay, terrific. Thank you.
Great. Thank you.
All right, so items for consent.
Yes, ma'am.
We'll do 2 through 7 and 9.
Very good.
Seeing no objections?
No objection.
Okay. So approved. And item number 8 we'll call special.
Yes, ma'am. Item 8 is to see a report relative to authorizing the Department of General Services to negotiate and execute a lease amendment for 10,170 square feet of office space at 680 through 690 Knox Street for use by the Housing Department.
All right, good afternoon.
Hello. Good afternoon.
All right, I'm here with, my name is Paul Burke. I'm here with General Services Real Estate Department. And this is primarily for an update. There are a few minor things that I'm going to update you on, but they do have significant weight. One of which is that the owner of this particular private property has changed their LLC, so that's going to change our lease. So I wanted to update you on that. They're going to splice ownership between 90% on one LLC and 10% on another. So we have two owners, so to speak. So that change will be incorporated. The second change would be the fact that the city attorney felt it prudent to include what is called CAM charges. CAM charges are common area maintenance fees that are typically inherent in this because we're doing what's called an amendment. So the first lease, which was for 8 years, is going to be expiring in about 2 more months. So we already have those operating costs, CAM charges already in the lease. In the new amendment, these things are considered implied. However, the city attorney wanted this to be added, so we're going to add it so that they'll know what it is. And the third and last would be, this is going to be for a 96-month or 8-year term. And what we would like to do is just to make sure that the MFC report reflects November the 30th of 2025. We had down 2024, so that's pretty much the change.
Okay.
That is it.
Okay. So we have the recommendation to approve with the amendments.
Very good.
Seeing no objection, that'll be the order.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Right. So we're concluded. So our meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much.
All right.